Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Lilac Moon from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole here if I report a nurse for asking for my number during a procedure? My 21 female had an EMG this morning. It's a test where they use little needles and electrodes to check how your nerves and muscles work. It's already a vulnerable situation since you're laying down in a cold room in a backless gown and can't really leave in the middle. And on top of that, I have anxiety as well, and I didn't bring anyone to the appointment with me like I usually do. The nurse who was doing the first part of the test, the electrodes part because the actual doctor does the needles, made me really uncomfortable. He kept flirting and asking me out, even though I tried to shut it down. Just a few of his comments are listed here. I couldn't remember them all after the fact. He said, I'm also a personal trainer. Maybe I can help you stretch sometime. He said, am I charming you? Am I making you nervous? He said, I want to show you around the city. Maybe we could get together and find a nice spot. He also said, can I get your number? You're so beautiful. He said, you have such a beautiful skin complexion. Nubian or Egyptian? Where are you from? He said, why don't you date? Why are you single? He said, I want to take you driving. Then OP said, when I explained I'm happy single and don't want to casually date for religious reasons, he said, you never know. Maybe if you find the right person, I'd love to show you around. OP continues, he also commented on old scars on my arm. They're clearly old self-harm scars. Literally no other medical professional has ever brought them up, not even the neurologist that came in right after him. So that felt like he was violating my privacy. At some points he even held onto my arm in a way that made me really uncomfortable. For context, I've never had a boyfriend, never even held hands with anyone, and I'd never even gotten male attention until recently. I also have really bad anxiety, and during the appointment I kind of shut down and couldn't think straight. He was clearly older than me, and I felt really vulnerable the whole time. I tried to redirect the conversation, but he kept pushing. At the end, he asked for my Instagram. I said I don't really use it, but he kept at me, you don't want to go on a date, so at least give me that much. You should hit me up sometime. So I gave him my public account and blocked him as soon as I got into my car. I felt so nauseous and guilty sitting in my car, especially because I kept engaging with him and responding to his questions. I feel like I should have said something about how he was making me feel weird, or asked for another nurse, or even complained to the doctor, but I didn't know what to do. I feel like I should have stood up for myself, but on the other hand, I couldn't even think straight and I was so panicky. Now, on one hand, this felt super unprofessional, inappropriate, and unethical. I don't want other people to be put in that position. On the other hand, I feel bad about potentially affecting his income and job, especially with how things are in the economy right now. And I'm also worried about the possibility that he has access to and can see all of my medical information and personal info. I have no idea what to do, and I'd really like some input or advice from someone who works in the field or has experience with this before. Sorry if this is not nicely written or is kind of repetitive. I literally just got home and I hurried to come post this ASAP. Absolutely not the arsehole for reporting this at all. If he's willing to do this to you, he's willing to do this to anyone. And it would be a consequence of his own actions. I mean, put yourself in his position. Would you choose to do that? It's such a weird thing to do. And it's not just like flirting, it's a huge abuse of power. I mean, you're in a medical setting, partially undressed, connected to equipment, I assume, mid-procedure, you couldn't leave. And quite frankly, his job and income is not your responsibility. It's his behavior that cost him his job, nothing else. Commenter says, report them. Another commenter says, OP, you should definitely report. This is completely inappropriate. Here's where to report, and then shares a link. EMG techs are not nurses, so it's not the board of nursing. The link is to their certifying body. OP says, thank you. This was a really big help. I just assumed that he was a nurse, but it's good to know what his actual job title is. Another commenter says, not the arsehole. It's incredibly unprofessional that he was hitting on you and asking you personal questions about your scars while working as a healthcare provider. Reporting him is the right move so that he doesn't do it to other patients. Another commenter says, based on what he was doing, I'd be surprised if he was a nurse. Sounds more like a procedure tech or assistant. As a registered nurse, I'm quick to point out that not everyone in healthcare is a nurse and would ask for caution in categorizing as such. Yes, he sounds like a jerk and definitely needs to be reported and followed up on. Another commenter says, report him immediately. He didn't feel concerned about risking his job to harass you repeatedly. You should feel safe and secure in your doctor's office. Opie adds a first little update and says, thank you for all your comments. I really appreciate the advice as well as the support. I sent an official complaint to their HR office and I'm on hold with a patient advocate right now. I really hope that they can make it so that guy can never do this again to anyone. Someone in the comments said to see if I can report them to the state board, so I'm going to do that next. Thank you. Then OP adds their final update and says, okay, so this got a lot bigger than I expected. I usually just lurk on here, but I just want to say thank you again to all your advice, and reading through all your comments has made me feel a whole lot better. Also, thank you to everyone who corrected me. It turns out he is an EMG tech, not a nurse. Good news though, they identified him and I have a meeting tomorrow with the Director of Patient Services for that facility to discuss the matter further. And I'm also going to be reporting him to the ABEM, like one of you suggested. Have a good night everyone, and stay safe. And fair play for OP for reporting this, because that's absolutely wild. It's just like, I just can't help but try and put myself in his shoes. You're sitting there, you know, you're working with someone who probably feels pretty vulnerable in that situation. And you start with that shit. It's just such a wild thought process. And I've got a little bit of waffle for you. It's not the same as this story. It's just like some of the procedures I've had recently. I think I've told this before, but but just to reiterate, it's not the same as what OP's gone through at all. But a month or two ago, I was officially diagnosed with IBS after going through various tests for a couple of years. And one of the tests was obviously having the old butt camera colonoscopy. And that's the last time I'm going to say it because I absolutely butcher that word. But it was such a strange experience. I was expecting to go into a doctor's office and, you know, just one doctor there and, you know, have a little probe around, you know. I had to go into this like prepping room first where they give me some little paper pants with a little butt flap on the back. And then they called me into this room and I walked into this room and it's like a bloody, it was almost like a proper surgery theater that you see in the movies. Like there was 8 people around, they had a bed there had massive lights going on, a big 50-inch flat screen so I could watch what's going on. I won't go into too much detail, but the procedure starts after the doctor introduced himself and, you know, I could see what's happening on this screen. And obviously the doctor's trying to make me feel at ease. He's talking to me about my job and stuff. And like I say to a lot of people, I just do video editing. And the brother jumps on that. He starts talking about video editing and, you know, how to put a video together. And at this moment, I'm just laying there and I'm just sort of turning around to him, like thinking at the same time, mate, I can see the inside of my arsehole right now. Last thing I want to be talking about is video editing. It's such a weird situation. But all in all, they were absolutely lovely people and dealt with it really nice, you know, especially when you are feeling that vulnerable in that situation. They are really, really nice. And personally, I didn't find the procedure as bad as I thought it was going to be. Obviously, that's going to be different for different people, but they took me out after, got me onto another bed and gave me tea and biscuits. It was fantastic. Not just any biscuits either, they had Biscoff. But anyway, I'm going off on one as usual. What do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story, it comes from CrunchyWin93. And just to give you a warning before we do get into the story, it contains talk of domestic assault, verbal abuse, harsh traumas, and pregnancy loss as well. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It starts. Yesterday, I, 32 female, woke up and made my partner of 6 months, 31 male, and I breakfast. We were having a great morning. I ended up spilling most of the food on the floor, but we laughed while cleaning it up. And there was enough left in the pan to make him a plate. Totally fine. I don't usually eat breakfast anyway. The problem happened after he finished breakfast and took a shower. Once he came out of the shower, I made a joke and he responded with a serious comment. I replied that it was just a joke and I started laughing. He completely turned defensive, saying he wasn't in the mood for laughing. He has had something on his mind and he needs me to provide proof. He proceeded to demand I unblock my ex to send him a message, proving that I wasn't still talking to my ex. I was suddenly sick. I didn't want to unblock my ex to open that can of worms, so I held firm with a no, I'm not going to do that. He started threatening to text my ex. Apparently, he's gone through my blocked numbers and saved my ex's number for a rainy day. He started shaking because he was demanding I text him or my partner would cancel the lease and leave me. We just lost our pregnancy, so I said, what if I was still pregnant? He responded with, then I would be stuck. He was very intimidating with words and action, so I ended up unblocking my ex and messaging him, to which my ex never responded. Reddit, am I the arsehole here or am I overreacting? I feel like I should leave. Physical aggression and intimidation is very triggering from previous trauma, and I was terrified by how quickly his mood and actions changed. Advice is greatly appreciated. Edit. The joke I made was about moving in with my female best friend while my partner goes on a 10-day cruise. She is married with 2 kids with no room to spare, and my partner knows this. Within the same post, OP adds an update and says, so I did it. After 4 hours, I asked if I could block my ex again, and he said yes. Later in the day, I asked a friend if she had free time and we agreed to meet up. After I told my partner I'd made plans for late afternoon with a friend, he started screaming at me for spending time away from him on the weekend. He started the physical aggression again, punching the walls and throwing things, then told me to get out. He proceeded to lock me out. I don't have a key to the deadbolt and neither does he, but I heard him lock the door, and then the deadbolt since he followed me out the door. Within seconds, he then texts me, run away and stay somewhere else. But he literally just told me to get out and knows I have nowhere else to go. All I wanted was to spend a few hours with a friend and get some clarity on our relationship. Hope he adds another update in the same post and says, he came home from work last night and took my phone, so I started packing. It wasn't long after that he came back and got physical with me. He grabbed my hair and pulled me around and at one point slammed me to the ground. I was able to get away and I ran to my landlord, who then stepped in for a few minutes while he got his things and left. The rent is paid through next month, so as long as I keep the deadbolt locked, he can't come in. I'll update further as I am able. So on the back of this, people were saying to OP that can she leave, and OP says I recently lost my employment, so I'm in a rough spot. The other commenter says leave yesterday. Sane people don't act like abusers on the flip of a switch. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. OP says yes, we had a great relationship prior to dating. I feel like our friendship has vanished since he broke up with his female best friend. Not at my request, but I think he finally realized that the married woman he was best friends was emotionally cheating on her husband with my partner. Thusly, he was also emotionally cheating on me. I never said anything though. He came to that conclusion himself. Someone asked, can OP move in with her parents? And OP says, I have no contact with my parents, and says I don't have family. Commenter says the insane behavior is that she already lives with him and has already lost a pregnancy with him and already knows he was emotionally cheating on her with a married woman, and now she's on Reddit not knowing what to do. She's as messed up as him, just in a different way. OP says we moved in together with joint funds, but have since lost my employment. Someone says, does OP have kids with her partner? And OP says no kids involved yet. Another commenter says, why are you still staying at a place where he knows you will be? The best thing you can do now is to take your stuff and leave ASAP. Ask a family member that you can stay with them. You need to get yourself as far as possible from this guy. Locking yourself in the apartment is risky and he can wait for you outside. OP replies saying, he took the keys to my car, so I have no way of leaving. Someone says, is OP living with her partner? And OP says correct, for a few weeks now. And one more comment that said the partner could be cheating while on the cruise, and OP says, I'm not paranoid about the cruise. Of course, anything could happen. He had every opportunity to invite me and receive the green light from his family and friends, but refused to extend the invite to me. And that is an absolutely terrifying situation, and one that sounds like OP needs to be out of there like yesterday, like some of the comments were saying. went from having a great morning to then having to prove her loyalty through her ex, threatening to leave OP homeless, and it escalated to screaming, punching walls, and kicking you out for what? Wanting to see a friend. Then he physically assaulted you. It's just escalating behavior, and then took car keys to trap you as well. It's get out of that situation ASAP and don't let him know where you are. But OP has a couple of updates on this one. The first one said, I just want to thank you all for taking the time to read my posts and follow the updates. Your support, kindness, and encouragement mean so much to me. I'm so grateful for this community. Here's the link to the first post, and shares the link. I'm still in the apartment for now, since I don't have anywhere else to go. Yesterday morning he came in unexpectedly. Turns out he had the key to the front door I didn't know about. He ranted for about an hour while I stayed as quiet as possible. Even without me responding, he was escalating, so I recorded the entire exchange on my phone just in case. Eventually he calmed down and tried to convince me that we could fix this. He said if he created one more fake scenario in his mind and demanded I prove it wasn't true, then we could finally be done. I told him I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life fighting with his imaginary thoughts. He left behind a large piece of furniture that he planned to pick up later. Later that afternoon, he came back in a completely different mood, eager to make things work. He touched my arm and I asked him to stop. He asked if I wanted him to leave and I said yes, but he stayed for several more hours asking questions about how we could fix things. I treaded lightly so as not to anger him, while still standing my ground. I told him there's nothing left to work on except ourselves, separately. Before leaving with the rest of his belongings, he asked for a hug and said he wouldn't be back. I gave him one last hug and he left. Commenter says to this one, time to put a bolt on the inside of the door and keep it in place whenever at home. Your ex is apparently more than a little unstable. Another commenter says, stick to your guns, you did the right thing. Good on you, and I just look to the future for a better life. It's out there. Another commenter says, girly, why are you by yourself in the apartment you both shared? I feel like it's a no-brainer that he would be able to have a key to your shared apartment. He could have done way worse, but other than that, glad he left, and make sure you change your locks and have someone with you until that is fixed. Another commenter says, go to the police and get a restraining order. This man is clearly not rowing with both oars. He could seriously hurt you in his delusional state. And OP adds another update, which was their final update. They said, good morning everyone. Wanted to take a moment to share what I hope will be the final update to my original post. Thanks so much for the support and guidance. The landlord has changed the locks, installed cameras, and updated the lease, so I'm now the only tenant. They've also given me a safer parking area that's under surveillance, which brings me some peace of mind. A police report has been filed to keep record of what happened, and I've started counseling sessions to begin healing. I truly appreciate all the kindness and encouragement I've received. It's made such a difference during this time. Thank goodness something is happening in this situation and the landlord actually caring and changing those locks and installing cameras and all that sort of good stuff. But there's always part of me after stories like this that's always incredibly worried still, just because of the escalation so quickly we saw in this story from, like they were saying that they were laughing while cleaning up breakfast, then went to an abusive situation really quickly. And when someone escalates like that, I'm always thinking, what else are they capable of? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story is going to come from the Am I Overreacting subreddit from Ad Debate, who says, am I overreacting for asking my parents to leave after my mum grabbed my wife's belly and asked if she was pregnant? My 29 male, beautiful wife, 30 female, had gained a significant amount of weight after our wedding. I think she's gorgeous, but she's insecure about how she looks now. My mum, 49 female, and dad, 53 male, had bought a house that is an hour drive from us. The four of us were supposed to have a lovely dinner at my home. My parents had arrived early and my wife hadn't changed out of her cooking clothes. She was wearing this tight t-shirt. My mum saw my wife. My mum grabbed my wife's belly and asked my wife if she was pregnant. My wife said no, that she's just getting fat. I didn't want a massive argument, so I rushed my parents out, basically telling them that we have to reschedule, congratulations on the new house, and must save them some food. I then assured my wife as she started to cry. Several days later, I talked to my parents by myself. My mum said that she had made a mistake, but I had taken it too far by asking them to leave. I basically explained that I only sinned that evening getting worse. My dad said that by not allowing my mum to apologize on that day, that I made them seem like jerks to my wife. I told my parents my mum can apologize now, but my parents says that now it will seem to my wife that they're apologizing because I told them to. Am I overreacting? Technical says not overreacting. You did not stop them from apologizing the same day. They could have texted. They could have graciously left and apologized as they were getting their shoes on. There is no legitimate reason not to apologize now. I've been asked if I was pregnant when I wasn't. Actually, many people assumed I was when I was postpartum. It's humiliating and so hurtful. You did the right thing by kicking them out and comforting your wife. Coke Zero Climax says, dude, not the arsehole. Protecting your wife's feelings is priority number one, especially when the rents cross the line. It's a touchy subject for most peeps, let alone someone already dealing with insecurities. Your mum's oopsie may not have been malicious, but it was hella thoughtless. Maybe with some time, a genuine apology might smooth things over, but right now, standing by your wife is where it's at. Chin up, man, you did good. Celestial Ducky says, not overreacting. Not allowing your parents to apologize on the spot isn't what makes them look like arseholes. Your mum immediately grabbing your wife's body and asking if she's pregnant is what makes them arseholes. You did great. Don't take responsibility for the consequences of their own actions. And for me, absolutely with the comments on this situation. Your mum's actions caused the issue. That's where it started. She shouldn't have put her hands on someone and commented on their body like that. You knew how much it was going to upset your wife, so you immediately protected her rather than letting your parents make that situation any worse. But what about you guys? What do you make of this situation? Maybe you have a different opinion on the matter. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.